Welcome to Two Gals and a Glass Half Full. We are Dr. Bobby and Dr. Jess, two physical therapists doing our best to lead healthy lives most of the time. Moderation is important, right? See our glasses as half full. Some days this is much harder than others and hope to share that perspective with you. We love to interview others that are more knowledgeable than us on other topics and provide some insight and education to us all. So before we get started, Dr. Jess, what is in your glass today?
Well, this morning I have finished my cup of coffee. So now I'm moving on to my smoothie, which is got lots of dark fruit in it, oat milk, protein powders, some chia seeds, some ground flaxseed, microgreens. Yeah.
Lots of good stuff.
Yeah. So it really fills me up. Like it's a big impact right there. Um, so Dr. Bobby, what's in your glass?
I just have coffee this morning, so just getting up and going. So coffee morning it is.
There we go. And then with us today, this is the first episode in Breast Cancer Awareness Month. So we have a special guest. Her name is Amanda, and I'm going to let Amanda introduce herself. However, first, Amanda, what's in your glass?
I have the very exciting Hydro Flask full of good old H2O this morning.
There we go. I love it. So Amanda, tell us a little bit about you.
Sure. So I'm Amanda Napolitano, and I am the executive director of the DONNA Foundation, avid runner and lover of all things half full, and excited to be on the show today.
Yeah, that is awesome. So when we talk about breast cancer awareness and October, this is a really big topic, and we love to be able to jump on board and also be part of that conversation and raise some awareness. So Breast Cancer Awareness Month is something that is a very, very, very big topic. And so we want to kind of start the month by saying, yes, this is so much to bite off at once. So what if we kind of start by that community level participation of breast cancer? So I think anybody listening to this podcast probably knows somebody or has been affected by breast cancer in some way, shape, or form, a friend, a family member themselves, a colleague, and it's just very prevalent. And so with that experience of breast cancer comes a myriad of experiences in that individual's life, the life of those that are close to them as well. And so, Amanda, how does the DONNA Foundation fit into this experience from a societal level, and then we'll get into that more individual level?
Sure. So, the DONNA Foundation, really our vision is to transform the experience of breast cancer from something that is clearly full of fear and frustration to something that's full of love and support. I think regardless of where you fit in the journey of breast cancer, whether you're a patient or a friend or a family member or a neighbor or, a colleague, all of the roles that you just mentioned, all of us experience, our own sort of dose of fear with it. And it's also super frustrating for many families and patients. And so, we ask ourselves as a vision, as a community partner, with all of these people, how can we change that journey for those living with breast cancer? So at the DONNA Foundation, we really focus on three ways of doing that. The first is to transform really the financial picture. Nothing stresses people out more than being strapped for money.
Absolutely.
And the reality of a breast cancer diagnosis is that it comes with some financial hardship for many. And so, we come in with our DONNA Care line and try to find sources of debt relief for families so that they don't have to choose between putting food on the table and getting the important treatment that they need. We also do this by funding critical research so that there's hope for a future. Right. It's we can face things if we know that there's light down the road, right? That there's hope. And so we think it's important to continue to look for ways to to save lives. And the reality is we're saving people every day with breast cancer now. Yeah. So let's continue to do that until breast cancer is just a part of the history books that we talk about. Remember back when? And then lastly, it's all about being healthy. and, putting one foot in front of the other every day, lifting one another and celebrating survivorship. And all of us can do that, regardless of, if you are specifically a breast cancer survivor or not. And so what we're probably most famous for around here are the DONNA Run event, the National Marathon to Finish Breast Cancer in February, and our 5K with the Players Championship now in October. And we have a Mother's Day 5K now on Mother's Day weekend in Riverside. So, and really that's all about making healthy choices and then empowering one another and lifting one another in love.
Mm-hmm.
So that was a super long answer to your question.
No, I love it.
That's no.
So
I think, how did everything get started? How did the DONNA Foundation start?
Well, 20 years ago, I believe that is we are celebrating our 20th year at the DONNA Foundation. So in June of 2003, Donna Deegan, who is a 3-time breast cancer survivor, lives here locally. At the time, she was the anchor for First Coast News. She launched the DONNA Foundation specifically to meet that financial need. She was hearing from a number of families in our community here, as she was journeying through breast cancer, that that they were really struggling to make ends meet, that they were truly having to choose between their treatment and keep the lights on. And so Donna was inspired to launch the DONNA Foundation to meet those underserved in our community. And 20 years down the road, we've served, over 17,000 families.
Wow.
Secured millions of dollars in debt relief for those families, about $500,000 every year. And that was 20 years ago. I can't believe it. And then Donna's a runner. So, she was already putting one foot in front of the other to raise money for the DONNA Foundation, selling t-shirts, Run with Donna. She was running various local Jacksonville races, and partnered up with Jeff Galloway, who's America's coach for marathoning, and Dr. Edith Perez at Mayo Clinic, and decided that there needed to be a marathon, a traditional national marathon for breast cancer. And so in 2008, we launched the National Marathon to Finish Breast Cancer, and sort of expanded the DONNA Foundation's reach to meet financial critical needs, as well as to fund research. And I don't know that we realized it at the time. We knew that the objective was to get people healthy and off the couch and celebrating one another. But I don't think until we actually crossed finish lines in 2008 that we realized how powerful that day was for the community to, gather for this purpose. Yeah. And how many family members and husbands and brothers and just people that often feel like there's not much they can do, gave them something to do. And gave finish line to so many people that were in such fearful places. And if you've ever crossed a finish line, you know how empowering that feels. Yeah. So it's become a really big part of what we do here at the DONNA Foundation.
Absolutely. And it's a huge event. I mean, here in Jacksonville, everybody knows about it. Huge turnout. So yeah, that's awesome. I think from my perspective, so I treat individuals that have difficulty after breast cancer, as from a physical therapy perspective, lymphedema, axillary forwarding, myofascial pain syndrome. So there's a lot of sensitivity to what happens with breast cancer that was on my radar. And so when I moved to Jacksonville and I learned about the DONNA Foundation, I was like, this is so good. This is like such healthy conversation that we're having. And it's not something that in other communities that I've lived in, that we haven't had a community that has been as supportive, and which was really refreshing for me as a provider to know that patients have that kind of support, which is cool. So from the perspective, I really like how you tapped into the perspective of the caregiver and how important that is, because caregivers oftentimes have a lot of struggle with this diagnosis, and the focus is with the patient and the needs of the patient and the care of the patient. However, from the outsider's perspective, it's horribly painful to watch somebody go through such a difficult diagnosis, and they themselves need support. They themselves need an outlet for being able to, you know, deal with and process everything and still have their energy go into something important and meaningful and making some sort of impact. So I love that the race is able to do that. Are there other ways that you've noticed that caregivers are able to be supportive to the individuals? Or not even caregivers, it could be friends or family or, you know, anybody.
Yeah. Well, we've already talked about, the runs.
Mhm.
And if you are a runner, you know how much of an outlet that is, period. I mean, I don't know that I could remain sane without, my my daily runs. So I do think that it's a wonderful way for, caregivers and family members, with the patients to sort of have something that you can be intentional about and purposeful about, to train for, one of the events that we produce. I think the Donna Care line is another resource that that many times we're working with the caregivers rather than directly with the patients. It's a complicated thing. The financials of a breast cancer diagnosis impacts the whole family. And part of what we do with the care line is provide sort of that case management role. That's a term that probably the three of us know very well, but perhaps not everyone understands what that means. It's really like a project manager for your journey through your medical care, as you're going through your treatments and everything else. To understand the financial implication of all of that can be complicated. And so our case managers really step in and walk alongside the families and sort of help navigate those waters, and make families aware of all of the support that's out there. There's a lot of it. It's just, not the average person doesn't know that it's there, right? So we're a connector, to a simple example might be that you're struggling to pay a utility bill because of cash flow issues with paying for treatment. Our case managers could get on a conference call with a representative from JEA, for example, and put you on a deferred program, or perhaps there's other programs that the utility company might provide to offset those bills for you, so that, again, you're able to continue your treatment because you're not having to choose between keeping the lights on. So just, simple connections like that can make a huge difference.
I think those case managers are so important because, a lot of times, even just if we're ill, like it's just the here and now, and like not looking into the future and not even kind of understanding or what's even available, like the therapy that's available to you afterwards, the counseling that's available, like all those things. So I feel like that's so important to have someone on your side to like be like, hey, like this is where we could go, this is what we could do, you have all of these options, and helping them through that process, I think, is so important.
I agree.
Yeah. And seeing that bigger picture of health is important, obviously, and that's like the number one thing that you're always going for. But the minute that we put all of our eggs into one basket is the minute that another basket is going to be completely empty. And so it's being able to fill each basket the way oftentimes I describe it to a patient. I'm like, well, if you have this ring, right, and there's baskets all the way around the ring, and then you've got one that's like sleep, one's interpersonal relationships, one's your health, one's finances, one's, who knows, like, your job, and like anything that makes you whole. And so if you put too much into one, it starts to tip. And so even though one is really, really stressful, you still have to be able to keep enough in the others to keep it level-ish and not completely like unbalanced. And so anything in our society that can help be supportive of that more well-rounded, seeing the individual as a whole experience and not just a medical diagnosis is really, really important. And highlighting wherever that exists. In Jacksonville, it's the DONNA Foundation. And other communities, there's other foundations that exist that help that individual keep it balanced, because you're alive, but then you have no lights. Okay.
It's not a choice at all, right?
It's not. It's
Right.
Maslow's hierarchy of needs says that we have to have food, shelter, safety. So if food, shelter, safety aren't met, then you're not going to be able to really invest in your treatment, and your stress level is going to be so high. We've done plenty of episodes about stress. If you have any interest in learning more about stress, tap back into those episodes. I think they aired maybe in March, I want to say, with stress. And so maybe April, but
March, April, around there.
yeah, there's a lot there about the stress response and how inflammatory that can be to our bodies. And so keeping that stress level managed as a patient is really important. And then obviously, like, that caregiver's role in stress level management is huge, and how to work together as a team so that you're constantly seeing that as, how can we keep this all balanced, even though it's hard, even though it's a struggle, even though this is overwhelming, what can we do to work together to do this? And that's tough, because somebody doesn't necessarily know what to say. There's no right thing to say. It's not about that. It's, how can I help you keep that basket full, whatever basket that might be. And it could be simple as going for a walk together, like just going for a walk together, not even talking about cancer. Just seeing the individual as a human, as a friend, like, hey, like, I'm gonna go walk, would you like to come with me? And even if you know they can't walk as far as you normally would, let them know, hey, I'm gonna do a shorter route today just to take that stress level off. My plan today was to do a little bit shorter. I would love if you would come with me. I do better if I have a support with me. Now that person is your support. What? Like, how empowering is that? That's so empowering. Like, it, like, when you're, like, most people don't like to receive help. It really is stinky to have to ask for help. So for somebody to ask you for help when you're having to ask so much for help from others is huge. Things like that are what the DONNA Foundation is supporting. Hey, let's train for that 5K together. Let's see if we can do it. You know, don't worry about the marathon and stuff like that just yet. I mean, in the future, absolutely make it a goal if it's yeah. Oh, my patients know, like, when they come in on that first day and I'm like, what's your reach goal? And they're like, I mean, I can't even think about that. I'm like, that's okay. But, like, really, like, long term, what's that reach look like? And they might say something like a marathon or dragon boating or whatever it might be. And I mean, we're like at the point where there's still like drains. I mean, it is like not a good time in life. But you know what? That is what, like, we're dangling towards that, so that when we're in the midst of like the chaos and how difficult just the struggle of like washing your hair is, we're like, that's okay, because when we're working on getting this shoulder up, that's going to help with that dragon boating in the future, right? Don't make it as simple as washing your hair. Boring. No one wants to just be able to wash their hair. Like,
So Jess, have you done the marathon yet?
I haven't done the marathon. So Bobby, I was going to do the half, but then we went to that conference in February and it was the same.
Oh, it's the same weekend.
You're not allowed to go to that conference anymore.
It was the same exact weekend. And then so I flew in on that Sunday and it was like cold and raining. Like, the rain was like blowing sideways, and like I was like, oh.
It was pretty gritty. It was pretty gritty last February.
It was a tough one last year.
Yeah.
I had some friends run it. They were like, you weren't there when I was getting rained on. I was like, I almost got the power cut off in San Antonio because there was like such cold weather that there was like warnings going out everywhere that
I remember that.
Yeah, we got a note in our hotel to like fill the bathtub and stuff.
Oh yeah. Yeah, like, it was
weekend
freezing cold in San Antonio that same weekend as the DONNA race. But yeah, that's definitely something that is on my agenda for next year. Sorry, APTA conference, a few overlap.
Maybe we can make that this year's conference. Come down and do the race.
Exactly. There we go. Yeah.
Yeah, but I want to pick up on something you were saying earlier about, working with your patients and giving them the reach goals and giving them goals. I think we've come such a long way as an industry in the breast cancer community of continuing that idea and concept of exercise throughout treatment.
Right.
So many studies now are showing and telling us that a body in motion, right? That continuing to, and I'm not talking about, Boston qualifying speeds of a marathon concerning breast cancer. No, but I think, giving yourself a goal of, run, walking, a 5K, journeying with your treatment as your body allows you to, right?
Yeah.
Is super healthy. And I'm seeing a lot more physicians partner with their patients that way, come to our events with their patients. Dr. Dawn Musalem, I don't know if you know who she is. She's a physician at Mayo, brought, it was a team of probably 30 people to our Mother's Day event. It was so beautiful to watch, those women participate and feel great about themselves and it's just so healthy. I think it's sort of like when I was running through my pregnancies, right? We've come such a long way that way too of continue to do what you normally do. Keep your body healthy. There's really no reason to abruptly stop these things.
Well, and there's so many benefits with it, just regardless if you're going through this or not, there's so many benefits of exercise. It can, as long as your body can handle, and there's so much good to it. The endorphins that are released, like the physical, the mental, to kind of help you through that time.
Yeah. And I think because, I did the same thing through pregnancy. People are like, you're crazy. You should just sit and relax. I'm like, no. Not that. That's like opposite of evidence-based. So,
well, also how you feel.
Absolutely.
Like, how do you feel after sitting around for like a week doing nothing?
Yeah. The thing is, we always have to consider anytime there's a role change in your life, whether you have a diagnosis, whether you are pregnant and about to take on a new role, you still have to be able to not have the rest of your roles be changed all at once just because of that one change, because that is also a major stressor, and that can be it can be difficult. So if you only see yourself as a patient or as a pregnant person or as a whatever, fill in the blank, then what about everything else? Like you are more than that. And so maintaining your level of activity with what you like to do helps you maintain that role that you have. And it keeps you as you. There's nothing that changed about you. Nothing changed about your spirit, who you are. Nothing like that changed. And I think the more that we can talk about that, the better people can really navigate being friends with somebody that has a diagnosis. Because it's not this like, oh, she doesn't have hair now. Well, should I say sorry? I mean, it's not about pity. It's like, still see her as her. Hey girl, what's up? Like, like, I love that cap that you have on. Hey, so let's go over it just like we've always done, if they feel up to it or whatever it might be. But just making sure that we're still seeing them not as anything that's less than as normal interpersonal as possible. And it's like I said, pregnancy is a perfect example of that. Hey, you should sit. Nope. Yeah, I'm the wrong person to say that to. Yeah. Don't tell me what I should do. I will let my body dictate what it feels comfortable with doing. I will modify my activity based on my current condition, but there's no reason to sit and succumb to whatever this might be. Absolutely not. And that's the expectation I have with patients. What do you like? Are you able to walk up and down the street? Well, yeah. All right, let's do it.
Continue to do that.
Yeah. Actually, we've got to keep that cardiovascular system healthy, really. I mean, and it's good for your bone integrity. It's good for maintaining your hip extension. It's good for, the vitamin D. It's good for pain control. It's good for emotional regulation. Wait, I'm not hearing anything it's bad for. Oh, that's right, because it's not.
It's not. Right. Exactly.
Yeah. Huh. Yeah. So yeah.
So
So that's the kind of, big takeaway with some of the organizations that are really supportive of keeping bodies moving, but then also seeing other needs that arise outside of the healthcare needs. That's what our hospitals are for. They're very good at that. But then the other needs that arise as well. Yeah.
So this question is kind of for both of you because Jess, I know you see a lot of patients after going through breast cancer, and then Amanda, obviously you have them all around as well and experience a lot with them. So for someone like me, where I had a neighbor like 20 years ago that had breast cancer. I know people, but I don't see it often and I don't see it daily. How can I, both two ways, how can I help someone that I know that is going through, like, to offer help without them having to ask? Like, what are some things I could look for to make a day easier for them? That's kind of one question. And then the other question is how can I start to look? So I'm in Chicago, Amanda, I'm not down in Jacksonville. So both for those people down in Jacksonville, how could they get involved in their community? I know there's the runs, but is there anything else that they could do? And then also for us that are far, any ideas on how we can start to search in our communities to see what's available?
Well, the first thing, I'll sort of answer your questions backwards.
Okay.
DONNA Foundation, through our Donna Care line, we help families nationwide. So anyone who might be listening, you do not have to be in the Jacksonville area to seek support from the Donna Care line. So if you have a family member and you need assistance, please go to thedonnafoundation.org. There's a online form that you can fill out, as well as a telephone number to call, and we'd be happy to walk with you and help you through the financial complexities of your journey with breast cancer. So that's the first thing I'll say. In terms of being a member of the tribe, offering support to a loved one, I think, Jess, you said it very well earlier. It's continue to be you, Bobby, in whatever way that makes you uniquely you, and you uniquely that neighbor, and you uniquely that friend. Don't stop doing that. Continue to do all of that. Yes, there's some things that you could call and offer to do. Hey, do you need a ride? Do you need anybody just to go hang with you while you're getting treatment, or other things like that. But to me, most of what I hear from families, patients, is just to treat them like them. That their identity is still their identity. They're still Amanda, they're still Jess, they're still Bobby, right? They're still that person. So, in whatever way to continue to be that friend and neighbor, continue to be that friend and neighbor.
Yeah. I think I tag onto that as well. And when you know that something is like really quite difficult, you can tell that like maybe the stress level in the house is pretty high. Asking simple things like, hey, like, would it be helpful if I, dropped off a couple meals? Would that help you? That like one less thing to think about, and it's healthy, and so you're not like getting done with stuff, might be helpful just for even the other people in the house. The individual might not feel like eating too much. They might be kind of sensitive to, foods and whatnot. So like asking what would be helpful if I were to drop off some food or a smoothie, or like what's going well. I know when my stepdad went through his journey he had a different form of cancer, he did very well with, I had this like homemade broth and soup that I made, and it like he loved it, and it was like it went down easy, it was full of nutrients, and it could stay hydrated, and so I was just like, what goes down well? And he was like, that soup you make? And then I had this like other dish that I make. He's like, oh my gosh, that one I can eat it, and it stays down. It feels good. I'm like, great. So it was just like, so I just stocked his freezer, literally stocked it. That way, if it was a day that, and in containers that were, you could take out and like heat it up. It wasn't like a main thing. You have to defrost it and then cut it.
Yeah.
It was individual serving containers, so he could take it out, let it defrost, and then he could heat it up whenever he felt like eating it. So something like as simple as that I was like, well, I can do this because I can't go to appointments. But if I can make one step in your day less stressful, then great. And, you know, he told me many times afterwards, oh my gosh, like having this food in the freezer, it just lets me relax when I get home. I'm like, that was the easiest thing I could have done. I'm already meal prepping for my family. So like, it's so easy for me to do that. So it's just things that are like that, but like letting them have the say. Don't just drop off something random, because who knows if that's going to, you know, food allergies and sensitivities and everything else. And they may say, we have too much food. Oh my gosh, please don't bring any more, because then they're like overloaded. But I think like just asking for a little bit of feedback can be helpful. And if they say we're solid, we're fine, then, you know, then don't force it. So yeah, I think it's kind of, it's still conversation based, I think. Yeah, versus making a an inference of what they will like or want. You know, that's still a little bit tough.
You know, and we talk about love over fear a lot over here at the DONNA Foundation. It's sort of our mantra, and I think, you know, love is an action, right? And it's a beautiful thing, and as simple as just a text, hey, I'm thinking about you today, love you, right?
Yeah, basic.
Just transform someone's day, you know.
Right.
So it's just little things sometimes that doesn't have to be a grand gesture, right? Just some kind of little, hey, thinking about you.
Yeah.
You know,
those are all things, all the little things we could do.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, was there any other question? I think there's 3, and I'm trying to think. Oh, in their community, if there's any other organizations like the DONNA Foundation.
Yeah, like how could you get a little bit more involved, you know, if you wanted to?
Well, in terms of the DONNA Foundation, you know, the just got tongue twisted. Hello. DONNA Marathon Weekend is an event that brings people from all over the world. So I encourage anyone who's listening to put it on your calendar. It is the first weekend in February, the 3rd through the 5th, 2023. There is a distance for everyone, from the kids with the DONNA Dash to the 5K, the half marathon, and the marathon. And then we also have a really fun event that we're launching today, if this is going to air at the beginning of Breast Cancer Awareness Month, right? The concept is to walk a mile a day for 110 days. It's the DONNA 110 challenge. We have an ultra marathon for Marathon Weekend that athletes run 110 miles over 2 days. So this is kind of a nod to that event. But really geared for families and for people who just want an objective to get out the door every day and move their bodies for, you know, 10-15 minutes, right? So walk a mile a day challenge starts October 1st and basically wraps up as we approach Marathon Weekend. If you can get out for the most part a mile a day, and you earn an amazing medal and shirt that will send you, and it helps to fund the critical programs of the DONNA Foundation, which obviously, you know, it takes resources to manage our programs. So I encourage everybody to get involved, move your body, and help us serve families.
And we'll write it down below, but can you tell us again where we'd go if we wanted to sign up for the races?
Sure. So all of the information is at thedonnafoundation.org. Or specific to DONNA Marathon Weekend, breastcancermarathon.com.
Perfect. Yeah, and in the episode descriptions, both on YouTube and on the podcast itself through Apple, the all the links and all of that stuff will be provided, so you don't have to like be frantically trying to write this down, or, you know, if you're driving, please don't look down at your phone. Be safe. So all of that will be provided in the descriptions. So Amanda, thank you so much for coming on. We really appreciate all of your information that you had to share. It's a foundation that I'm very grateful for having this in my local community. So I was happy to be able to share this to our listeners as well. And I'll help to educate Dr. Bobby on, you know, just a little bit of a different perspective on what can happen with a breast cancer diagnosis. So this is going to be the topic that we'll continue with through the rest of October. We've got some other guests coming on, both individuals that have been affected by breast cancer, and then we'll talk with some other professionals as well. So Don't forget to follow us on social media. We're on Facebook, Instagram, and we also are trying to put out content that is helpful for everybody. So make sure to subscribe so that you see the updated episodes on your phone. They air on Sundays, so I think Sunday mornings at 10 is when the episodes will go out, so you get that notification. So all right, everybody. Well, I appreciate the conversation, Amanda, and I look forward to meeting up in person soon.
Thank you, Amanda.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely.